Hello, hello. Please forgive me for my tardiness, but I want to thank each and every one of you who are going to join us, who has joined us for another episode of Increase. I am truly grateful for each and every one of you, and I apologize for my tardiness. I had to reschedule it due to many different factors. I had a doctor's appointment that actually took me a little bit longer than what I expected. And you're going to hear me say this again throughout the broadcast, but I want to make sure, let you know that I am a man of integrity and I'm a man of character, and I don't want to waste your time. So, I want to give a few more minutes because I know that this is not the proper time that I normally would go live. So, I just want to again thank you for your patience and for your kindness. Um, So, without further ado, I want to talk today just briefly. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I briefly just want to talk about something that I post on my personal page. And then my personal page on Facebook, I just asked the question of, what are you grateful for? Because oftentimes we get so caught up in our day to day that we really don't get a chance to, or really don't give time to. Let me put it that way. We really don't give time to how important it is to be grateful. And so I want to just share with you all some things that I'm just thinking about on my on this Friday, right? This is the ending of some of you work week. Normally we would be talking around our lunchtime, so kind of give you something to think about while you're eating your lunch or while you're getting prepared for your lunch. But this is more so toward the ending of your day. And again, I do apologize for my tardiness. Um, as I stated earlier, I had a doctor's appointment, and while there, I started finding myself getting frustrated because I know that I had this to do, and I want to be studious of my time. I don't want to just waste your time. And as I'm going through all of these things, I begin to just think about some of the things that I'm grateful for. We take for granted that we're going to drive our cars and whatever the weather is, and that we're going to get to our destination safely. We just assume and just kind of put it out of our mind that everyone else that's on the road is paying attention, or that you're going to come home and your home is going to be the way that you left it, or that when you get to your destination, that there isn't some kind of situation going on that could cause you not only physical harm, but also mental. So we kind of run through our day and we really don't think about some of the things that could possibly happen, and it's with good reason. No one wants to be around someone who's always thinking negatively, but also by the same token, also don't want to um find yourself in a place where you're operating completely out of fear. And so I want to take a moment, if we can. I want you to think about, what are you grateful for? Not just, life and, being able to move around or even your job, but really think about, what am I really grateful for? And then allow that thought to begin to govern your conversation, because sometimes we're so reactive to our frustrations in our life that when you talk to people, it never sounds like you're grateful. It sounds like you're always complaining, or you're always frustrated, you're always on edge, or you're just sad. You may find yourself reflecting so much on the negativities of what's going on around you. Maybe you're negative because you feel like you're out of control. Your life is out of control. You have no sense of being able to navigate your life without all of the frustrations and without all of what it comes with. But whatever the case may be, but I want to ask you to just begin to think about, what are you grateful for? As I went to the doctor today and he looked at my back, um, and everything is fine, everything is good. I began to look at the x-rays and I thought about 10 years ago, walking in so much pain, walking and being short of breath. And it's easy to look at me at that time and possibly go, well, maybe it's the weight. Or maybe you didn't have on proper shoes. Uh, Maybe it's the environment. Maybe it could be stress. But it wasn't until I got x-rays done and began to see doctors that I began to understand that I had scoliosis. And I always knew I had it, but I didn't know to the degree that it was. And so after all of that and having surgeries and all of this stuff, surgery and all of this stuff, today I got a chance to really reflect on the way that I'm able to move without all of the restrictions from the past. And so sometimes in our life, we really need to look at ourselves, look at our situations, and really begin to go, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm able to do more now than I was yesterday or last year or 5 years ago. You may not be able to do the things that you always have wanted to do. You may not have achieved the goals that you wanted to achieve. Sometimes we feel so grappled by fear of the unknown, fear of what others may say, fear of what is going to cause me to change in order for me to get what it is that I truly want out of life. Sometimes we feel so enamored with being perfectionists. And I learned from Gary Vaynerchuk, listening to his podcast and watching his videos, is that those who deal with perfectionism really don't trust the work that they put in. So a lot of times our frustrations and our perfectionism is really stemmed from, we really don't trust ourselves. And you can look at that mistrust within yourself, and you can point the finger at many different people and things. But the truth of the matter is that somewhere along the way, something took place where I stopped being grateful. I stopped looking at how strong I am, you are. You stop looking at all of the possibilities and the things that you can achieve and that you've already achieved. And you find yourself getting caught up in this spiral of complaining, complacency, and comfortability. Maybe, just maybe, if we sat back and begin to really think about how you may not be the healthiest you've ever been in your life, but you're still alive and you have movement. And maybe some of the things that you need to do in your life is going to cause you some inconvenience temporarily. But in that temporary discomfort, in that temporary um exchange of moving in a direction that you don't fully know, that maybe, just maybe, you'll begin to flourish into the person that you've always wanted to be. As a person, we're always maturing, or we're always becoming. You should be anyway. No one wants to stay the same. There's always room and areas to grow. There are always areas wherein you should want your life to be different. Maybe, just maybe, if I'm grateful for what I already have, I could accelerate my movement into the things that I want. Sometimes it's not that we don't have various things in our life, it's that we're not appreciative of what we already have. You oftentimes hear the grass isn't greener on the other side. But how often do you hear that in order for your grass to be green, you need to do some maintenance? Let that maintenance for today going into the weekend be a maintenance of gratefulness. I'm just grateful at the fact that I was able to father children, or you're able to birth children, Or maybe the fact that even though you may not like your job or whatever, but you have a skill set that allowed you to even attain that particular job. Or even in your business, you may be looking at your business and you're saying, well, it's not flourishing like it should be. Ask yourself, am I treating my business like a 9 to 5? Am I only doing the work for my business as long as I'm in that particular building or in my creative room where I'm creating whatever it is for my business? But once I'm done, then I'm done with it and I'm no longer worried about it, or I'm no longer trying to create something. Or are you, have you really put yourself in a box? And inside of that box, not only did you put yourself in it, but you put all of your creativeness in this box. And instead of you creating while you're in the box, you put your creativeness in that box and you placed it in a storage shelf that's in that box. It could be oftentimes that as we're looking over our lives and we're looking out at what others are doing, we're not grateful to the fact that we're actually even there. And that we're not even grateful to the fact that you have a talent and a skill set that others have, but they may not be operating in it just like you are. I want to encourage you today as you're traveling over the highway and you're listening to me, or whether you're at work and you're starting your shift, or you could be at home and you're just watching this at whatever time, but to find yourself in a place of gratefulness, just being grateful, even though it's snowing or even though it may be raining or whatever the weather is where you are, to look out of the window or open the door and begin to feel that breeze or begin to look out among whatever the weather is and being grateful to the fact that you're able to see it, to feel it, to smell it. It's such a beautiful thing to begin to really reflect on what others may not even possibly have. It's the attitude of gratitude that really excels and really thrust us into a life that will over oftentimes overtake us. I want to encourage you to think about more of your gratefulness more than your complaining or your complacencies, your the areas in your life where you feel like, oh, I should have achieved this, or I should have this, or I should be in a better place than where I am right now. Really begin to kind of um look at life not as something that is happening to you, but something that is happening for you. You get out of life what you put into it. And the more you begin to exude that energy of gratefulness, that energy of thankfulness, that energy of, you know what, I am doing so much better than what I was, then you'll begin to really begin to see things turning around for you. I want to say thank you to those who are joining me, watching now or even watching later. Again, as today, kind of took a turn. I wasn't expecting to be as late as I am, but my doctor's appointment took me longer than what I expected. But even in the midst of me sitting there and I'm talking to the doctor and we're looking at x-rays and I'm going, wow, so much has changed over my life and so much has happened to my body. And it made me even think about, my wife as she was, was pregnant with the twins 3 years ago. And then, all those things that transpired within her body. And then not only to be able to birth them and have her own personal battles and struggles, after giving birth to them, but just even seeing her resilience made me grateful to just be able to observe the kind of woman that she is. And so sometimes, even in our gratefulness, when you're thanking God for what you have and what's going on in your life, you could also look around at the people that you are associated with, that you're connected to, your spouse, your children, and just begin to be grateful for the things that's happening in their life. Because when you begin to just really take an observation of those things, you really begin to get a perspective that things aren't as bad as sometimes I want to make it out to be. It could be that we look at things outwardly in a negative connotation because we fear. Not just fear of the unknown, but we fear of what could be. That if by some chance, if I do achieve these things, how much would change? You begin to think about the friendships that could possibly be broken. And if the friendships are that fragile that at the thought of you being grateful and you achieving the goals that you want to achieve, that the friendship is broken, can you truly say that that's a friendship? Is that something that you're still in? Maybe not only are you afraid of your own potential, or maybe you're looking at things from a negative perspective because of what you've heard all of your life. Sometimes we're afraid of our own potential simply because of what it's going to require for us to do. It's going to disrupt our regular schedule program. It disrupts the routine that we've grown accustomed to. Though internally you're frustrated with the routine and you want something different, in the same way, you're still like, I don't know. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, let's be grateful. Just being grateful, being thankful for the small things, thankful for the big things. Many of you have achieved college level education. And if you really sat back and thought about the papers that you wrote and you didn't think you were going to um, achieve the grade that you did, being able to stick with it while you possibly had children, possibly being by yourself, being a single parent, achieving, working, school, all kind of other things. If we were to hear your story and you were to, and we say, listen, give us 15 minutes of something to inspire the next generation, and you begin to tell them how you're working and the car breaks down, and food is scarce or bills are due, and you're trying to keep faith and keep smiling so that your children can not see the struggle that is really going on, all of these various things. That's inspiration by itself. But even in that, that's that level of gratefulness you begin to just share. That I don't know how it happened. I don't know how we survived it, but I am grateful that I survived it. Not only that I survived it, not only did we overcome it, but I exceeded even my own expectation. You should be grateful for the fact that there were moments in your life when you were like, you know what, I'm gonna woman up, I'm gonna man up, and you begin to exceed your own expectation. And how exciting, how much energy you receive just from going, you know what? I am excited. I don't know where this energy came from, but I just begin to be so grateful for what has taken place, what I have gone through, and I'm still here. And the more you begin to think about it, how energizing you begin to get, and the more louder you become, and the more you almost begin to like just swell with not emotion, but with gratitude. You begin to swell with thankfulness. This world needs more people that are grateful, more of sharing how, even in the midst of all that you've gone through, that I'm still grateful. That even when, and this is something I wanted to share with you all, even when you felt like someone was trying to abuse you or misuse you in some kind of way, they thought they were using you. We'll use that. They borrowed money from you. They thought they were getting over, not even realizing, not even understanding that they, in their attempt to use you, they cut their own access off to you. Sometimes when you begin to look at things and go, no one can use me, I'm a grateful person. By all statistics, I shouldn't even be here. By all measure of anything, any kind of definition, I shouldn't have what I have. And that's what makes me so grateful, that even when someone tries to use you or think that they're using you. What in essence takes place is you begin to learn the habits of individuals. You begin to notice the patterns of people after you encounter these people. You begin to see that there were times when you possibly were like that to someone. And from a grateful place, you begin to have pity on them. But you also know that this isn't the end and you keep moving. Gratefulness has a way of opening up your eyes and expanding your mind to a place where you begin to really begin to see things in a different light. It begins to not only energize you, but it also educates you. It begins to embrace you. And I hope, those of you who are watching this, those of you who will watch this later, that you'll begin to think about those things and go, you know what? I am grateful that I was able to be some kind of positive light within that person's life. I'm grateful that I'm grounded enough that it does not pull some kind of emotional string out of me. I'm enamored. I'm so baffled at times how even myself get caught up in the day to day run that you don't sit back and go, this is pretty nice. God has really blessed me. God is, um, He's used me in various areas, and you're grateful and you're thankful, and your outlook on other individuals go, let me pay this forward. Let me go and as I'm sharing my testimony or whatever, you just begin to encourage other people when you see them in a same or a similar place that you were once in. And the moment you begin to just kind of do those things, you begin to inspire another generation of people. You begin to inspire um, individuals that you probably will never see again. And you begin to share with them how, wherever they are, whatever it is that they're going through, that you can make it. Don't give up. And so today, I just want to encourage you, don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Even in the midst of all of your frustrations, even in the midst of all of your best efforts, continue to be grateful. Continue to look at the mirror and go, I am not only blessed, not only beautiful, but I am bold in being grateful. And that at any moment, I know things can always change, not always for the worse, but also for the better. You're no longer just looking at things and going, what's the worst that can happen? Or let me prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But really begin to go, I'm putting my best foot forward, but I'm also going to just begin to expect better and greater. I'm so grateful for like George Lane and for Amber and for Tiffany and for Mia. I'm so grateful for Beatrice, and I'm so grateful for Aisha, and just so many others who are on, not because they're just people who are on alive, but for their life in this story and what impacts they have had in my life personally. Many of you, as much as we can talk about bad relationships, being grateful even for those bad relationships, pointing you and pushing you to better and greater relationships. Even in the looking back at all of those other things that negatively could have happened and has happened in your life, being grateful, being thankful for that's not where the story ending. That's not where, just like when you're reading a book, you and turn the page. And so as you're turning the page and you're looking at the highlight reels of your life, just looking back at them and being grateful. That's all I wanted to do today. I wanted to encourage you to be grateful. I wanted to encourage you to look going into the weekend and not just looking at it in a negative sense or like, oh my God, the weekend is going to be like a blink and then we're back at work again. or even dreading your own business that you started, and now you're in a position and in a place where you're like, I am just frustrated. But really begin to change your mind, change your outlook by really discovering that I'm just going to be grateful. I'm going to be grateful for what God has done. I'm going to be grateful for the doors that are opening. I'm being grateful for where God is moving. I'm grateful for all of these things because I know that this is not where it's going to stop. I know this is not how it's going to end. And how I know this is not where it's going to end is because I'm still alive. I still have energy. I still have breath in my body. And because I'm on increase, I'm increasing my gratefulness. I'm increasing the mere fact that I'm developing, I'm becoming what God has called me to be. I want you to look at your life, look at your children, and instead of just seeing the parent that is absent, or looking at your children and seeing the potential that you feel like is not there, you're looking at your home life and you're wishing that you lived in a different location. Really begin to look at them and go, look how grateful I am at the mere fact that I was able to have children, or the mere fact how beautiful they are and how creative they are and how much of an individual they are. Begin to be grateful of what I'm in an apartment. I'm not in the weather and the elements. Begin to just be grateful. I'm glad that I have a couch, even if it makes me feel like I'm sitting on the floor. Whatever the case may be, but you're grateful for the fact that these things that are happening is not happening to me, but they're happening for me, and that they're developing a greater me. Each and every day, I'm growing and I'm developing to being what I have always and have been created to be. You may not be where you want to be, but you ought to look at yourself and begin to go, I am a work in progress. I am forever developing. I'm forever shaping and being molded and moving. When the Bible says that, you're on the potter's wheel, and it begins to talk about a potter's wheel, you have to understand that it's more than just clay, and the thing that the clay is sitting on and is spinning. But you really have to understand that the the craftsman or craftswoman is forever moving it to loosen it so that you can begin to craft whatever kind of vessel you want. And so you may not have the past that you want. You may not have been raised in church all your life, or you may not have such loving and caring parents, or you may not have always had, all of the luxuries of life. But in the midst of all of those things that are happening, you begin to be shaped and molded, and now you're starting to come into your own, and you're starting to look like what God has created. And you may not be where you want to be, but just continue to be moldable, continue to be being able to be shaped and crafted, so that when the time comes, you'll be what it is that you were supposed to be, and you'll be able to create and do all the things that God has always wanted you to do and become. You're not a mistake. You're not a failure, but one thing you need to be is grateful. Being grateful produces something that no one can ever take away from you. And when you're grateful and when you are thankful, you'll find that things that you've been desiring to do or even to have will begin to come to you, because you've been able to look at things from a different perspective. And you find that as you begin to look at things from a different perspective, it causes your actions and your movements to be different. And because of those things, you'll be blessed with so much more, so much more. People have, because not only they're able to manage it, but because of their level of gratefulness. Don't measure yourself upon those who are getting things ill-gottedly, meaning those who are doing wrong in order to obtain what they have. Begin to just look within the Word of God and begin to find yourself increasing in wisdom, knowledge, and begin to increase yourself in self control, and begin to set out a plan so that you can yourself can be better in all aspects of your life. I pray today. I hope today. I pray and hope today. This message of increase is just a blessing to you. I hope that you take something from this and take it throughout the weekend. Um, that you enjoy your weekend, you enjoy your time with your family, with your friends, and even on your job, you begin to find that even on your job, you can still be grateful, that you can still take something from it that is going to be pleasing and be happy to just be there. Doesn't always have to be perfect, but you definitely want to be grateful for it. So, with that being said, I thank you all for joining me on Increase. Thank you for all those who are on live. I gratefully and thankfully appreciate each and every one of you. Until we meet again on Monday at 1 o'clock. Monday at 1 o'clock, we definitely will be back here to increase and to encourage each and every one of you. I thank you again, and you all have a great day and an awesome, awesome weekend.